So this next video that we're gonna go over. I saw this and I was like, "Hey, yo, this can't be real. This is beyond evil, in my opinion." Here, let me just. I might as well just show you. Served her boyfriend to his kids. The case almost too horrific to cover by the YouTube channel Crime A to Z. So yeah, she served her boyfriend to his kids. What the first thing that pops into my mind is like, you guys aren't even married. You can just leave the relationship. If you need to, you can ghost him. What brought her to the point where I'm guessing she's the one that no-lifed him, and then not only did she do that, but she got extremely personal with it. I'm guessing she chopped him up somehow, cooked him, and then served him to his own kids. How evil do you have to be to, instead of just leaving the relationship, you no-life him and then make a meal out of him to serve to his kids? Bro, I said it once, I'll say it again. There's a lot of us are raised to believe that women can do no harm, that they're these like perfect angels. But guess what? Everybody is capable of both good and evil, or at least societal good and evil. So you have to be careful of who you decide to mess with. If you see signs that a bitch is crazy, leave that bitch. You know what I'm saying? You may have put in work. You may have wanted to make her your wife and everything. You may have wanted to commit to her because everything seems fine on the outside and on the inside. But if you catch hints of red flags that are dangerous, even if they're not dangerous, even if they're like the slightest bit of hint to danger, you better be careful. You know what I'm saying? You better keep in mind that every person is possible of good and evil, and you may have feelings for that person, but you don't know them completely. I believe it's a Japanese saying, but it's like everybody has 3 masks. The first mask is the mask that you show the world. The second mask is the mask that you show your close friends and relatives and loved ones. The third mask is the mask that you show nobody. So keep in mind, you may have feelings for someone. You may have deep feelings for someone, but you will never fully know them, let alone what they're capable of. So that's all I'm saying is like, stay safe. Enough for me ranting. Let's get to the video. As always, links will be in the description below, so be sure to check them out. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel because your boy is trying to hit 1,000 before the end of the year. Let's get it.
It was March 1st, 2000 in Aberdeen, Australia. It was a normally peaceful and quiet town unfamiliar with crime, and certainly not accustomed to particularly brutal ones. But on this day, as 2 children were sent away to stay at a friend's house for the night, the most savage of crimes would take place.
Oh, God,
and in all of Australia, no crime before it.
All right, we got pictures, so you know, I don't know how deep the pictures go, but if you get queasy easily, you know, this is your warning. You know what I'm saying? If you got kids in the room, you probably don't want them to see this. You know what I'm saying? If you under 18, why are you even in my channel? But anyway.
Nor any crime after it would compare. Welcome back to Crime A to Z, where we detail cases and criminals from their very beginning, until well after other reporting ends.
I don't have my lighter. Give me a second.
Today, we'll be covering one of Australia's most notorious female killers. She's the only woman to be serving a life sentence without possibility of parole that has an unprecedented special instruction on her file due to how heinous her crime was. We want to warn you that this video covers graphic accounts of cannibalism, dismemberment, and other gruesome acts. If you're not comfortable with those topics, we recommend skipping this particular case and tuning into one of our other cases instead.
There's your warning again.
Barbara and Jack Ruffin lived a relatively simple life in the small town of Aberdeen, Australia.
Okay.
During their marriage, Barbara and Jack gave birth to 4 sons.
Okay.
At some point after their 4th son was born, Barbara began having an affair with a co-worker of Jack's named Ken Knight. Once people around town became aware of the affair,
A co-worker of Jack's, not even a co-worker of hers, bro. Man, I was listening to this thing earlier today. It was like a what was it? There was like this woman who was like a professional on like women's feelings and things like that. And she she mentioned something about that, when men fall in love, theirs is a deeper, connection. For women to have a connection, they only have to have an attraction, but they make that connection a big deal, you know. So, and that's why women, that's why a lot of women, not all, thankfully, a lot of women just will cheat without a moment's hesitation. And if they cheat once, then it'll be easier for them for them every other time. But so I guess all she had to do was find a reason to be attracted to her husband's coworker for her to cheat. And the thing is, like, that's both parties' fault. It's her husband's coworker's fault because that's your homie's, that's your coworker's girl. Come on, bro. And it's her fault because yes, she can say it's not her fault because blah blah, I was attracted, or whatever reason she wanna. If you have to have control over your sexual desires. If you don't have sexual control, then are you better than a wild animal? I think not. Happy 420. And happy Easter.
Barbara and Ken began facing backlash and eventually decided to move away from Aberdeen to Moree. Barbara and Jack's 2 older sons remained behind with Jack, while the 2 younger ones were sent off to live with an aunt. While Barbara and Ken did not marry, they would go on to have 4 additional children together, including twin girls who were born on October 24th, 1955, one of which was Catherine Mary Knight. In 1959, when Catherine was 4 years old, Jack Ruffin passed away, and the 2 older sons that were living with him came to live with Barbara, Ken, and the rest of the children. Then in 1969, while Barbara and Ken did not marry, they would go on to have 4 additional children and eventually decided to move away from Aberdeen to Moree. Barbara and Ken began facing backlash and eventually decided to move away from Aberdeen to Moree.
So she stayed with them. I thought she was just gonna have an affair and just dip out, or cut it after she got caught. But nah, she decided. I guess the husband also found out, divorced her or something, and then she just stayed with the boyfriend. It's tough, man. I don't know. I mean, stories like this, not like this specifically, but like stories about relationships, make me want to not get married in the States. Like, if I get married, I'll probably move out to the Philippines or Japan or something and then get married. I don't know. But it's not, thankfully not all women are like this. And you can find a good woman here in the States that's marriage material. Will you? Who knows? But I always wish for the best for everybody, so.
Barbara and Jack's 2 older sons remained behind with Jack, while the 2 younger ones were sent off to live with an aunt. While Barbara and Ken did not marry, they would go on to have 4 additional children together, including twin girls who were born on October 24th, 1955, one of which was Catherine Mary Knight. In 1959, when Catherine was 4 years old, Jack Ruffin passed away, and the 2 older sons that were living with him came to live with Barbara, Ken, and the rest of the children. Then in 1969, the family moved back to Aberdeen. By this time, it was clear that Ken was an abusive alcoholic who would rape Barbara multiple times per day.
Bro, I bet her husband was a good man too. And she left him for this guy. For a fleeting feeling of affection that she had to act on. She couldn't control her sexual desires. She ruined her family. and then got with someone who's actually, you know, not a good man. Yo, be careful, ladies. And men, be careful. Men, be careful who you pick, and ladies, be careful who you pick. You gotta be careful.
And Barbara also played a large role in the dysfunctionality of the family dynamic. She often shared with Catherine and later future daughters the intimate details of her sex life and how she loathed both sex and men. Once Catherine became older and began engaging in intimate activities with her own partners, she complained to her mother that one of them wanted her to participate in acts that she was not comfortable with. Her mother's response was to put up with it and stop complaining. As a child, Catherine was described by some people as both loving and kind.
Put up with it and stop complaining? You know, I don't want to feel sorry for this woman because of what she did to her husband. But now I'm slightly starting to feel bad about her, bad for her. But knowing what she's going to do, I don't think I can do it.
While others, including many of her classmates from Muswellbrook High School, remember her as a loner and a bully. On one occasion, she assaulted a male classmate, and on another, a teacher injured Catherine while acting.
Look at that, yo, she's kneeing him in the face. And men aren't taught not to hit women. Women aren't taught not to hit men. They're taught that men aren't supposed to hit them. And since they know that men aren't supposed to fight back, they will do this kind of shit. This is sad, bro. What happened to equality? If we shouldn't hit them, they shouldn't hit us. Like, women need to be raised not to hit men. Like, here's the thing though. Men are raised to learn to know, men are taught how to treat women while they're being raised. Women are not taught how to treat men. They're taught what to expect from men.
Acting in self-defense. When Catherine was not acting out is when she was considered to be a model student and even earned awards for her good behavior. When she left school at age 15, Catherine could neither read nor write. And given that there was a meat factory or slaughterhouse in every location her family had lived, it was not surprising that she aspired to work there someday when she grew up. But the first job...
And that's why she was able to do what she did. Yo, this is gonna get... This is gonna... Grab your blunt if you smoke. Happy Easter. Happy 420.
Job she landed after leaving school was as a cutter at a local clothing factory. She worked there for a year before landing what she called her dream job, which was cutting the internal organs of animals at a local slaughterhouse.
Yo, is that a red flag? That feels like a red flag. Her dream job is cutting organs out of a slaughterhouse, out of animals at a slaughterhouse. That's her dream job. I'm not saying that's bad. Not saying that's bad. You know what I'm saying? Do you? You do you. But that's a, oh really? That's, you know what I'm saying? You guys, oh really? Oh really? Huh? Okay. You know what I'm saying? That's what kind of, you know what I'm saying?
Alongside her father, twin sister Joy, and brother Charlie. There, she was soon promoted to a position deboning meat and was given her own set of butcher knives, which she hung over her bed so that they'd always be handy if she needed them.
You hung them over your bed. You didn't put them in the kitchen. You hung them over your bed. So they'll always be handy if you needed them. All right, man. That's, yo.
She claimed that she would hang these knives above her bed at every home that she would subsequently live in. In 1970,
that includes her husband's home, you know, the one that she divorced. Luckily, they got divorced. He didn't get, you know. But her boyfriend, her boyfriend is abusive. Let's be real. He might deserve that ish, bro. But his kids being, but her, again, according to what we know by the title, her serving him to his kids, those kids didn't deserve it. The boyfriend may have been abusive, and he may have deserved what's coming to him, but those kids were innocent, as far as I know, as far as we know.
23, Catherine met 22-year-old David Collette, who was a co-worker at the slaughterhouse. David drank heavily, brought on by 2 traumatic events in his life. One being his best friend being killed right before his eyes.
Holy.
And the other being involved in the rescue attempt of children, whose bus was struck by a train, 6 of whom were killed.
Holy.
Within a year of meeting,
you know what I'm saying? I understand why he started drinking. I understand why he started drinking. I keep trying to find something to say, like, you know, because I stopped drinking. At least like for the most part. Like, I stopped drinking because I used to drink almost every day. I stopped that. And so I was trying to find something to say that, you know, alcohol isn't necessary. There's something. There's got to be a better way. You know what I'm saying? I was trying to find something inspirational to say for that, but I see why he started drinking, and bro, I don't blame him, but like, I hope he's able to get past that one day, you know, when he and fully heal. Holy crap.
David and Catherine got married. The couple arrived to the wedding service on Catherine's motorcycle, with David heavily intoxicated.
Oh wait, never mind.
At the
He
wedding,
dies, I forgot.
Catherine's mother gave David some advice. You better watch this one or she'll kill you. Stir her up the wrong way or do the wrong thing and you're f***ed. Don't ever think of cheating on her. She'll f***ing kill you. And that didn't take long.
Damn.
On their wedding night, Catherine tried to strangle David. She would later explain that it was because he fell asleep after only having sex with her 3 times.
She tried to strangle him to death just for that? I mean, that kind of, you know, it kind of sucks that he fell asleep on her, you know, after sex. But this must have been an exhausting day. And they said after having sex 3 times, and the rest of the day must have been exhausting. I'm trying to find you know, I'm trying to give him an out, but and he was probably been drinking too, so that's going to make him tired out as well. Probably passed out from the alcohol as well. Bro, she's tried to strangle him for that. That's the if that didn't tell you to get the marriage annulled, like, bro, I don't know, man.
And the violence only progressed from there. When Catherine became pregnant, she burned all of David's clothes and shoes before she hit him in the head with a frying pan. The offense that triggered the violence was that he arrived home late from a darts competition because he had made it to the finals. Worried that he was about to die, David escaped to a neighbor's home where he collapsed with a severely fractured skull. Police wanted David to press charges against Catherine, but Catherine talked David into dropping all charges.
Hell nah. These kind of charges need to be pressed, bro. Like, excuse me. She tried to no-life him a few times and was like just really violent with him. That's not acceptable, bro. Like, especially if that's supposed to be someone you love. You know what I'm saying? And it's like it feels like she waited till she got the ring before she let this side of her out. That's kind of scary. But then again, on the first night when she tried to strangle him, he could have got the marriage annulled the next day or something. But man, that's sadness, bro. He probably thought he had the right one. I don't know if there were signs that she was showing like this before they got married. But if there were, then you know what I'm saying, that's more his fault again. I don't want to say that though. But anyway, man, I'm starting to feel sorry for the guy, but at the same time, remember, he was he would wound her, like physically hurt her. So I don't want to say the word, but you know what I'm saying?
In 1976, shortly after the birth of their first child, Melissa, and fed up with the 3 years of abuse he had endured from Catherine, David left Catherine for another woman and moved to Queensland.
Okay.
Catherine was devastated by the departure. Her behavior became even more erratic than normal. It landed her in the hospital where she was diagnosed with postnatal depression. She spent several weeks in recovery there, and once released, she promptly packed up her newborn, took her to the train station just before the train was due to arrive, and placed the baby on the tracks. She then headed downtown with an axe, threatening to kill several people along the way. Back at the train station, a homeless gentleman rescued 2-month-old Melissa just minutes before the train would have arrived. Catherine was hospitalized again, but checked herself out the following day. Not surprisingly, there was no change in her behavior. Within a few days, Catherine slashed a woman's face with one of her beloved knives and demanded that the woman drive her to Queensland to find David. But once they reached a gas station, the woman escaped, and Catherine threatened to kill a young boy that she had since taken hostage. Police arrived.
I'm trying to think, but what was the thing that set her off? Like, what was... It's like she got married the second time, and then after she got married, she just started to snowball from there. Getting increasingly more and more violent. Like, but what ultimately led her to start doing this? Was it the other guy? Was it her, her ex, the one that she's going after right now, David or whatever? Was it him being abusive, or shit, I said it. Oh well. Was it him and his actions, or I don't know. Because now she's like openly threatening other people and leaving a baby on the train. I'm guessing him breaking up with her is what, like, because even before that, she started getting more and more violent with him. I guess, yeah, him leaving her just really set her off the edge.
Disarmed her and had her admitted to a different psychiatric hospital. There, Catherine admitted to nurses that she had planned to kill the mechanic at the gas station since he was the one who had repaired David's car, allowing him to leave her.
What?
She said she then planned to kill David and his mother once she arrived in Queensland. When police informed David of the incident, he left his girlfriend and returned to live in Aberdeen with his mother so that he could support Catherine in her time of need. Once Catherine was released from the latest facility, she and David moved back in together to Ipswich, where Catherine landed another slaughterhouse job.
Didn't the police inform David of everything she said? Oh, let me
Informed David of the incident and his mother car, allowing him to leave her. She said she then planned to kill David and his mother once she arrived in Queensland. When police informed David of the incident, he left his girlfriend and returned.
So they informed of the incident. I'm hoping they let him know that, hey, that she was also planning to, she said that she was planning to go after you and your mom next. I'm guessing they actually told him that. And this guy moves back in with her?
Once Catherine was released from the latest facility, she and David moved back in together to Ipswich, where Catherine landed another slaughterhouse job at Dinmore Meatworks.
Yeah, I don't feel sorry for David anymore. Not only was he, aggressive towards her, I'll say it that way. And not only was he aggressive towards her, even though she was also aggressive towards him, but you had the chance to stay away from her and didn't take it. All right, bro.
A few years later,
again, I still feel sorry for the kids because the kids don't deserve what the title says happened.
They welcomed another daughter, Natasha. And 4 years after that, in 1984, Catherine left David. Catherine's next major relationship began 2 years later in 1986 when she...
Okay, so that wasn't the guy. But she left him, so I guess he got lucky.
Met another David.
Also, look at that picture. Like I'm not gonna lie, lady. That's a. It's, maybe it's because I know what you did, but that's a creepy smile now.
David Saunders, a 38-year-old local miner.
Another David?
Within a few months, Catherine and her daughters would move from the government-provided housing they were living in at the time to live with Saunders. The relationship was tumultuous, with Catherine constantly suspicious of Saunders' actions, resulting in her regularly throwing him out of his own home and even cutting the throat of his 2-month-old puppy right in front of him.
Yo, she could easily be the most hated person, at least in America. She left her child on the train tracks, and she slit a puppy's throat. I mean, you could say that the extreme man-hating feminists that are out there would be happy that she, you know, was so aggressive towards her ex-boyfriend, even though he was abusive as well. Should I say that word again? Whatever, it's too late. Even though he was abusive as well, you could say that he still deserved it. But you still can't say that at the end of it, like, what happens to the kids and the guy? They can't agree with that part, right? Even though some extreme man-hating feminists probably still would.
She told him that it was an example of what would happen to him if he ever cheated on her. Then, in another violent episode, like she had done to David Collette before him, she hit Saunders in the head with the frying pan, this time knocking him unconscious. Despite the violence and sheer brutality of the relationship, Catherine went on to have a child with Saunders.
Bruh. I don't know if the world knows it, but here's a secret. If you're in an abusive relationship, chances are you don't have to stay in that relationship. Especially if you break up with them and get free of them. You don't have to go back to them. I don't know if you guys knew that, but
a daughter named Sarah. But there was an end in sight for the tumultuous couple. The final breaking point came after a particularly violent fight where Catherine struck Saunders in the face with a clothing iron, then stabbed him in the abdomen with scissors. He moved out and went into hiding. When he tried to return to see his daughter several months later, he learned that Catherine had lied to the police, claiming she was fearful of him, in order to get a restraining order against him. Catherine would go on to date and have one more son by another partner before meeting John Price. John Price, known as Pricey to those close to him, was a divorced father of 3 when he and Catherine met. John's 2 oldest children lived with him.
I'm surprised it's not a David.
While the youngest lived with their mother. Friends and family of John described him as a terrific man that was liked by everyone who knew him. John was fully aware of Catherine's violent history, but in 1995 he still allowed her to move into the 3-bedroom bungalow he owned with him and his children, who had developed a fondness for her. In 1998, Catherine and John got into a fight over his refusal to marry her. As Catherine fumed over the fight, she decided to videotape an item that he had supposedly stolen from work, then sent the video to his boss. Even though the item he had taken was an outdated medical kit that he had retrieved from the trash bin, they were still forced to fire him after 17 years of service to the company.
Oh my God. She ruined his career just because he refused to marry her. Bro, it also, honestly, if you knew you weren't gonna marry her, you probably should have just broken up with her. To be honest. Or maybe he was thinking more marriage further down the road, and so that's why he said no at the moment. I don't know, but if you knew you weren't gonna marry her, you probably should have just broken up with her. I'm just saying.
John was furious and promptly kicked Catherine out of the house.
But at the same time, like, that doesn't excuse her actions. Like, and she keeps doing that same smile, bro. That shit's creepy, I ain't gonna lie.
But after a few months had passed, despite his friends pleading with him to stay as far away as he could from such a dangerous and devious woman, John took Catherine back.
I'm gonna stop feeling sorry for y'all, bro. I'm gonna stop feeling sorry for people that escape an abusive relationship and then go back and then escape and go back. I'm gonna stop feeling sorry for y'all, bro. I'm not gonna lie.
But he was more cautious this time and didn't allow her to move into his home. The couple continued to fight even more regularly than before, and John's friends, disgusted that he returned to such misery and danger, no longer wanted anything to do with either of them. By the end of February 2000, John had finally had enough of Catherine and her abuse. After several terrifying incidents where he was justifiably fearful that she was going to kill him, including an incident where he awoke to find her standing at the foot of his bed with what he feared was a knife behind her back, John cut the...
Oh, hell nah, bro. Hell nah, bro. No, that's a fear, bro. That's some fear. That's some nightmare feel right there, bro. Because you didn't hear the door open, the person was already inside. Matter of fact, you went to sleep. The person next to you. That's nah, son. If I ever see that shit, I'd end dating. I would stop dating and I would just be like, I'd stay alone. I'd be like, nah, Brian, I ain't trusting nobody again. If I ever saw that shit, son. Nah, man.
Relationship off and secured a restraining order against her. It forbid her from coming near him or his children. Once that was secured, as he had done several times in the past, he let his friends and co-workers know that if he were to not come to work the next day, it would be because Catherine had murdered him. His co-workers pleaded with him to not return home. But John, fearful...
Bro, they're like... they're like, hey, man, you should just don't go home. Actually, everybody should go with him. Everybody should go with him so that he can get his kids. And all of his co-workers should go with him, and he picks up his kids, and he's like, hey, yeah, I'm leaving you.
For his children's lives, felt that he had no choice if he were going to protect his children. When John arrived home that night, his children were not home. Apparently, Catherine had come by and sent them away to stay at a friend's house for the night. Even though Catherine was not his home either, John decided to stay away from the house as long as he could, staying in a neighbor's home for most of the evening, then returning home about 11 p.m. At some point after John had fallen asleep, Catherine arrived at his home and awoke him to have sex. John fell asleep afterward. The next morning, March 1st, a neighbor was surprised to still see John's car in his driveway since he'd usually left for work by that point.
Oh, shit.
And since John was never late for work, his co-workers were also concerned when he had not arrived by a certain time.
And this was the night after he just told them, if I don't come to work tomorrow, Catherine unalived me. Imagine being his coworkers, hearing that you try to get him to, hey man, don't go home, don't go home. He goes home anyway. You go into work the next day and he's not there on time. Obviously, like that feeling of dread that washes over you, like, damn, bro. I'm just saying.
So one of them went to his home to check on him. Together, the neighbor and the concerned co-worker tried to wake John by knocking on his bedroom window. At some point during their attempts, they noticed blood on the front door and called police. Police arrived and broke down the back door to get into the home. And what they saw from that point on left the officers so traumatized that they still struggle to this day to cope with what they saw. Upon entry, police first came across John's skin, hanging from a hook in the doorway arch of the lounge room. Not recognized.
You remember earlier in the beginning of the video, we found out that her dream job was working at a slaughterhouse, and she was being a butcher, and she would remove the intestines and everything from the animals, from the dead animals. And then remember when we found out that her precious knives, she hangs them above her bed every night in every house that she sleeps in, in case she quote unquote needs them or whatever, and whenever she needs them. And remember when he decided to take her back? I take it back when I say I'm gonna stop feeling sorry for people for I take it back when I say I'm gonna stop feeling sorry for people who go back to other people who are abusive in their relationship. I'm gonna take that back. But there's got to be like a solution for that kind of thing. Someone you could call, a hotline or something. Bro, she put her all the years experience of working at that slaughterhouse, she put that shit to work. She put that shit.
Recognizing the dangling obstacle amidst the dim lighting and figuring it was some sort of drapery. One of the officers brushed it aside as he passed, only to have his arm covered in blood from just grazing it. Later autopsy results would show that, drawing on her years of experience butchering animals, Catherine had used medical precision to meticulously slice John's corpse, then carefully pull the skin from his flesh. From the tip of his head to the bottom of his feet, the entire body of skin, complete with all its stab wounds, was in one piece, including the hair, face, ears, nose, mouth, and genitals. The skin suit dangled.
When they said expertly, they said expertly. Holy shit.
From the hook with blood still dripping from it, and its intact feet dangled on the floor. The autopsy pathologists surmised that the entire process would have taken about 40 minutes, at which time Catherine would certainly have been covered in blood by the time she was finished. Police proceeded past the skin suit further into the home, where they quickly came across John's corpse lying on the floor. It was both skinless and headless. Catherine had decapitated John's corpse. She also left a blood-stained note that she had written on top of a photo of John. The note groundlessly accused John of raping Catherine's daughter and other indecipherable rantings. While Catherine's monstrous acts up until that point were difficult to fathom, it was only the beginning of her depravity. Her next actions were unthinkable. Catherine took John's skinned and decapitated head, placed it in a large pot, and boiled it, along with vegetables, at some point during the morning, since it was still warm when police arrived later that morning.
They go in and there's a meal on the table, for God's sake. There's vegetables, there's gravy, there's his meat, which is cooked in the oven. If you saw it in a horror movie, you'd almost laugh because it's just so over the top. These are the things those coppers saw that day, and these are things that never leave them.
She then proceeded to slice off parts of John's buttocks, preparing them as gruesome steaks to be served alongside an elaborate array of baked potato, vegetables, and gravy. She prepared 2 plates along with name cards for each of John's 2 children. She had fully prepared to serve John's body to his children to eat. They fortunately did not arrive home to do so.
Oh my God, bro. Honestly, that's the thing I was worried about. That's one of the things I was worried about the most, to be honest. Maybe the friend's parents knew about Catherine or like heard about Catherine, you know, so hopefully they let the kids, stay the night until their dad came to get them. So maybe it's like, no, we're just gonna wait for your dad to come and get you. It's a good thing they didn't send them home or drop them off home.
There was a third meal as well, but it was found thrown in the backyard. Authorities suspected that either Catherine had attempted to eat it but could not, or she had prepared it for the dog. Police proceeded through the home to ultimately find Catherine's
That's
loudly snoring body in bed in a bedroom near the end of the home.
bro.
She had swallowed a large number of pills which caused her to pass out. The dosage was not nearly enough to kill anyone though, so she survived. Once the scene was fully processed and analyzed, authorities determined that after the initial attack, John had awoken and tried to turn the light on when Catherine began chasing him through the house. He managed to make it outside at some point, but then either Catherine dragged him back inside, or he stumbled back in, at which point he collapsed and bled to death. She had stabbed John 37 times in the front and back of his body, many of which were deep enough to reach his vital organs. A detective on the scene described what he saw. He stated, "He's getting up. There's arterial spurting on the robe and the bed, and on the doorway there's a bloodied handprint or swipe on the western side of the door near the dressing table, and blood around the light switch. It looks like he's tried to turn the light switch on, and then all down the hallway they're everywhere, referring to the bloody handprints. And he's almost made it. He's opened the front door. The screen door is shut. There's blood staining. Trajectory again, flicking out across the front door. He's almost made it, but he wouldn't have survived. He would have been absolutely horrified, terrified. Probably terrified, more than horrified, trying to get out and all the time being stabbed." After Catherine killed John, she went into town and made a $1,000 withdrawal from John's bank account. Then she returned to carry out the atrocities that police were forced to discover. After the horrendous murder of John Price became known, Catherine's former boyfriend David Collette recalled how close he came to the same fate as John. He remembered waking up one morning to find Catherine sitting across his chest, grazing his throat with a knife. At the time, she laughed and commented how easy it would have been for her to have killed him. He didn't realize at the time how fortunate he was that she had not.
Was this before you took her back or after you took her back? Because if it was before,
Talks of charges against Catherine were underway. She attempted to negotiate a plea of manslaughter instead of murder. Her offer to plead guilty to manslaughter was rejected. She was officially charged with murder on March 2nd, 2001, to which she pleaded not guilty. Her trial began on October 15th, 2001.
she really tried to plead not guilty. Holy shit.
Before the trial began, the presiding judge offered the 60 jury prospects the option of being excused from the trial due to the extremely graphic nature of the photographic evidence. 5 of the prospects took him up on his offer and were excused. Several more dropped out after hearing the witness list. Then the jury was officially impaneled. However, before court was adjourned that day, the judge was advised that Catherine intended to change her plea from not guilty to guilty. The judge swiftly adjourned for the day, then ordered a psychiatric assessment overnight to determine whether Catherine fully understood the consequences of changing her plea to guilty.
I was wondering something about this. Like, I was wondering what this kind of test on her would be,
And that she was psychologically fit to make such a decision.
I was somewhat nervous about this because I was concerned that if I took a guilty plea, sentenced her, she would then appeal to the Court of Criminal Appeal and say she was insane at the time that she made the plea of guilty. I decided that I should get a court expert to examine her.
good idea, Judge.
And
Good
the
shit.
psychiatrist came to exactly the same conclusion as the other psychiatrist that had seen her, namely that she was not insane, she was quite sane, but she was a bad woman.
Okay, so she doesn't have any mental issues. So everything she's done, she was fully conscious and aware of what she was doing. Everything. When she left her baby on the train tracks, every time she abused every man she was with, when she slit the neck of a man's pet dog, when she expertly skinned a human, peeled his skin off, chopped off his head, boiled like the skin in a pot or whatever, made steak from his buttocks, and tried to feed him to his kids. She was sane for all of that. She knew what she was doing. She just didn't give a fuck. Is this pure evil? Or is she simply following her nature, which is to be this violent being? Holy shit, man.
Following morning, Catherine arrived at her trial, changed her plea to guilty, and the jury was dismissed from their duty. As of the making of this video, Catherine has never given a reason for changing her plea. She has also never accepted responsibility for John's murder or her actions afterward. Next came the sentencing hearing. In a bold move by the defense, Catherine's lawyers requested that she be allowed to leave the courtroom to avoid hearing some of the particularly gruesome details of the case. The request was swiftly denied. Then later, as details of the crime scene were being described, Catherine became hysterical and had to ultimately be sedated. When it was time to hand down Catherine's sentencing, the judge did not hold back. He pointed out the extreme brutality of the crime and noted Catherine's complete lack of remorse, stating, "Catherine Mary Knight does not qualify for mercy. She showed him, referring to John, no mercy. The last minutes of his life must have been a time of abject terror for him, as they were a time of utter enjoyment for her. She has not expressed any contrition or remorse, and if released, she poses a serious threat to the security of society." He sentenced Catherine to life imprisonment, refused to set an eligible for parole period, in order that her file be designated as never to be released, which was a first to happen to any woman imprisoned in Australian history.
I didn't know that could happen. I didn't know that was a thing, to be honest. That's good to know. But never to be released. So she's gonna die in prison. And think about everything she got away with, because all of her victims did not press charges, did not alert the police to her abusive actions. And they did not press charges and have her, face some type of consequence sooner. That could have prevented this guy from getting killed. So if anybody in a relationship is being abusive, whether it's, the man, the woman, whoever, everybody should be reporting this. You might be able to save someone's life without even knowing it.
This was as bad a case as you got, so she had to go to jail for the term of her life. But I can tell you that I found this a very stressful matter. In fact, after it was over, I didn't eat meat for about 3 months.
Yo, what up, Gutsy? Hope you're having a good morning, afternoon, evening, night, all the above.
Catherine Knight is currently serving her life sentence at Silverwater Correctional Complex under maximum security. Considered Australia's toughest women's prison, it's reported that violence erupts daily and 90% of inmates are drug addicts. Because of the sheer brutality of the crime she committed, Knight commands respect from both addicts.
Look how plush it looks in here. Like, look at their room, bruh. Like, look how comfortable this shit looks.
The sheer brutality of the crime she committed, Knight commands respect from both the inmate population and even prison staff. She doesn't put up with anything from either the inmates or the guards. If her cell needs to be searched, she demands that she stay and watch. She screams at the guards, who figure it's less of a hassle to just let her stay and to physically restrain her, which is the only alternative when it comes to Catherine and her combative nature. So, while she doesn't actually have a record of violence in prison, not even a single incident, she's in charge and everyone knows it. So much so that her nickname used by the guards is the Boss. As far as Catherine's daily prison life, it starts each morning at 7 a.m. to prepare for her 4-hour shift making headphones. It's reported to be the most tedious job in the prison.
They make headphones? Looking now, I'm curious how headphones are made. I need to get a new pair, or at least in their ear cuffs, but they're out of the little puffs that I use.
Involving a huge and very loud production machine. She's monitored constantly, with guards watching her every move. But despite Catherine's notorious reputation and constant monitoring, she has also built both a reputation as well as a physical space that is quite contrary to her evil side. She's known as the Nana for being a mediator to other female inmates, often interceding before conflicts escalate, discouraging thievery and generally taking on a motherly role. And for her physical...
So to them, she's not like violent at all. She's, you know what I'm saying? She's motherly towards them, bro.
Space, she has turned her cell into a homey haven, accumulating an enormous amount of trinkets and memorabilia that she has created, crocheted for herself, or received from others. Since she's going to be there for the rest of her life, fellow inmates noted that she might as well make it feel like home. 5 years after her conviction, Catherine appealed her sentence, claiming that a life sentence without the possibility of parole was too severe for the killing. The response from the considering judges was, "This was an appalling crime, almost beyond contemplation in a civilized society." Her parole was denied, so as long as her sentence is stayed, Catherine Knight will remain in prison for the remainder of her life.
I mean, her sentencing it wasn't a certain amount of years. It was, quote unquote, never to be released. So of course her parole's gonna get denied.
We hope this video did justice to all the victims of Catherine's heinousness, dead or alive. Please let us know in the comments what you think about this unthinkably brutal crime and this murder. And please don't forget to click like, subscribe, and share if you like this video. Thank you for watching.
Bro, that was intense. Holy, like I didn't think a human being was capable of some of the things that we heard she did. You feel me? I was proven wrong, bro. You have to remember, every person is capable of both good and evil. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of the 48 laws of power. I'm trying to make sure I think I'm gonna say it correctly. I hope I say it correctly. Trust no one, and even trust no one completely, especially your friends and family, or even your friends and family. So trust no one completely, even your friends, family, and your loved ones. Like, be careful. Ooh, let me know what y'all think about this case in the comments below. But yeah, as always, links to crime A to Z, links to the video and the channel will both be in the description below, so be sure to check them out. And while you're there, don't forget to do the 3 things I like to ask you to do. And like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the notification bell for more videos. Yeah. I almost forgot what I was going to say. But anyway, that's all for that. So thank you. Peace.